All right, Chris ran a little bit late, so I'm gonna try to play some music right now for us.
Up for each other. I've got your back. You've got mine. Kindness, humility, empathy. It's not just talk. It's who we are. It's who we always have been. And no one can take that from us. The movement to bring it back, it started here. And here. And here. In school gymnasiums, community centers, the living room down the block. You'll be where? Okay, we'll be there. Who are we? We're the movement that will beat Donald Trump. Welcome. We're going to have to sweat for it. We're going to have to sacrifice and fight. We're going to have to lead. Everyone is going to have to lead
Welcome,
with
everybody.
kindness,
We're still waiting for
humility,
Chris, so
empathy, and not just talk, but action. Action today, action tomorrow. Action until we win. And we will win if we do this together. It's who we are. It's who we always have been. Now let's show them.
welcome everybody, welcome. We still having a lot of people coming on, so I'm still gonna admit them in. Bear with us for a second. All right, all right. Close that. Welcome everybody, welcome. Yes, we still have a lot of people joining us today. So glad y'all can make it. We should have like a full house today. And I know Chris was running late. Everybody was jumping from Zoom event to Zoom event. So instead of delaying anymore, I probably will have to introduce Carol Leiber, one of our co-hosts, and she will greet everybody and start this meeting. Go ahead, Carol.
Thanks, Kurt. Thanks, everyone, for joining us this evening. I know if you're like me, you've probably been on Zoom all day, so thanks for one more Zoom call. I am a proud national delegate for Joe Biden, as is Nancy Fatemi, who's on the call, and Paul Ruiz. And we all started out very early, Joe, working with Kurt Tran, who's put together this meeting. And Kurt is a Biden fellow, and I'm very happy to introduce him. He's worked very hard for Joe. Before COVID, we were having phone banks and parties and debate watch parties, what have you, at his restaurant in Old Town Alexandria, the Java Grill. So I hope at some point he'll open up his restaurant again. We'll be able to continue in what we're doing. But Kurt's a volunteer. We're all volunteers here. And he's been working hard during, for many, many months, he's been working hard for Joe Biden, but he's been especially working hard to organize people on Slack. I hope he can talk to you a little bit about Slack, because I was actually on a Zoom call yesterday where someone said, gee, we need a Slack for Joe Biden. I was like, how did people miss that Kurt Tran's been doing Slack for a long time? But very proud to introduce a very hard worker, very good volunteer, my friend Kurt Tran. Kurt, take it away.
Great. Thank you so much, Carol. Appreciate that. So a lot of people coming in, so I'm going to still admit them as they're coming in, okay? But anyway, the National Capital Region for Biden, we had a kickoff back in May 17, 2020. It was helped starting up by a couple of Joe Biden field organizer. And follow up on the May 17 event, we have a May 31 event that we have more meeting and organizing how things going. And so that was way back in May, okay? As we were talking about Joe Biden, it's very important that we follow the Vice President lead in demonstrating empathy and concern toward our supporter and our volunteer, especially in this uncertain time. So we have talked about this in the National Capital Region, the 3 phases of our campaign. The first one was organization building, and then come with the voter contact, and then follow with the get out the vote to make sure that in November that we will elect Joe Biden as our next president. So how are we going to grow together? Basically, if we have one person recruiting 5 people and 5 people recruit 5 more people, that's how we grow the organization. Okay, that's our intent for the National Capital Region. And inside the National Capital Region, we're doing right now is canvassing. Well, we're not knocking door by door. We are canvassing with minivan. Minivans was pushed out to replace the old paperwork method of doing door-to-door knocking. But we're not doing that, but we're actually doing virtual canvassing, okay? Because we have no campaign office open, so it's really hard, but Minivan will take care of that. So that's part of the VAN database app system where data is being pushed into Minivan so that you can do mobile canvassing, okay? And, with virtual canvassing, you can do over the phone or by texting, and that's some of the things that we do in the National Capital Region. And the nice thing about it, Minivan and using the system is that there's no cost per text or phone call like some of the system that we're using. So what are we doing in the National Capital Region? Okay, we are building like a 1 million digital army. Why are we building this army? Okay, to win in November for Joe, we need to do both offensive and defensive. Okay. Defensive measures like when you can go out and defend Joe, basically, because there's be a lot of people attacking from the right, and all this bombard messages. So we need people to come out there and kind of watch Joe back and defend him, and especially now with Kamala Harris as the vice president candidate, we definitely want to watch their back. And so that's what we recruit people to do is like, hey, you don't have a Twitter account, open one. You don't have an Instagram account, open one. And we can use those to defend Joe honor. We also do an offensive, but offensive is like when we recruit people with like thousands and thousands of followers on their account to get the word out, okay? So that's Twitter. We're using that, Instagram on the National Capital Region. We also using Slack. We do have Slack. It's a way to organize conversation. We share file and document, and everything is in the archive that you can research and find out on. Okay. Question and answer. We're gonna have some of these Q&A later on, and I know Chris is joining us a little bit late. So with that, what we need to do is let's start with the next event. Let me go back to the agenda. Okay. So I think the next coming up is Nancy. Nancy, are you on here? So Nancy Fatemi is one of our
Chris just joined us.
Delegate. And she will talk a little bit about the experience at the convention. Okay.
Well, I'd love to do that, and I will do that, but I understand Chris just joined us, so he's the busiest fellow there can possibly be in the state of Virginia. So maybe you want to let him speak now, and then I can speak later.
Great, wonderful. Okay, so with that, what I'd like to do is introduce you guys to Chris Bowling. He's our new Biden state director for Virginia. Chris come with us from a long experience in Virginia. He was the political director for the former governor McAuliffe, and also part of the Virginia Democratic Party. So with that, I want to introduce you guys to Chris. Chris, are you on?
Yes, sir, I am. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Awesome. Hey, good evening, everyone. Kurt, thank you so much. Kurt has been incredibly patient with me over the past week or two. So thank you very much for your patience. I truly appreciate it. And thanks everyone for hopping on the phone tonight. I did want to get on say hello, give you a quick idea, and in all honesty, I'm best when I can answer your questions. So I am sort of here to do so. So I am, and Kurt asked me to send him a bio earlier, and the thing that I'm worst at in the world is writing a bio about myself. And then I jumped on call. So my name's Chris Bowling. I'm the Virginia State Director. If you've been in Virginia politics, you have interacted with me. This is year 16 in Virginia politics for me. I don't know what is wrong with me, but here I am anyway, and excited to do this work yet again. So listen, we're trying to do a couple things on the campaign. Obviously, we obviously want to win Virginia for the Biden-Harris ticket, send Senator Warner back, hold on to our 3 new congressional seats, and potentially pick up 1 or 2 more in Virginia. Both Cameron Webb in CD5 and Qasim Rashid in CD1 are incredibly talented candidates who we should all be looking at. Like, these guys are great. And we would be lucky to have both of them as congressmen. So we are building a couple of different operations because this year has been so weird. Shout out to 2020. We're building an organizing operation that is largely digital, working through Slack, lots of Zoom events, lots of virtual phone calls and text and other things, which has been going incredibly well. I know you all have been a part of that as well, so thank you. We are sort of monitoring the situation to determine how virtual we stay or if we move into a different space over the final 10 weeks or so. And listen, we are in Virginia. This is an incredibly interesting year because we have more new voting laws this year than we've had in my other 15 years of experience combined. So early vote. For some reason, we kept the silly name of absentee in person, but early vote is a real thing in Virginia this year. 45 days prior to Election Day, we open up on September 18th in most places, September 19th in others. Obviously, vote by mail is taking on a little life of its own this year. Sort of figuring out Election Day voting, taking a lot of these rules from different places. So we saw some successful things last week, like the General Assembly supporting or encouraging drop boxes in many localities, because we all know that the mail service is in like an odd position right now. But given another option, we also got rid of the witness requirement that was in place here in Virginia before. So a lot of new ways to vote. A lot of different people want to do different things, which is great. With that being said, nothing is more important than voter education in a year like that because so many things are different. So we're also running like a pretty integrated voter protection and GLTV program to make sure that we are both educating voters and getting them to their preferred method of voting at the same time, which is new. It was usually like, oh, if we can figure out an excuse in Northern Virginia, then, you go vote early because you'll be usually out of your locality on Election Day. And then it was Election Day. And now we have these other options. So making sure we get people to the best option for them so that we can get as many folks voting in this cycle as possible is something that we are working to encourage. But it is, man, we are walking a lot of tightropes at one time. So we're sort of working through it there, but very excited about what we're able to do because I think we're going to see. We expect a pretty significant increase over what we saw in 2016 is like the total electorate, which is very, very exciting. And as a Democrat and as a Democratic operative for a long time, I'll be honest with you, we feel better when more people vote. The more people vote, the better we feel about elections. So that's something that I feel very, very comfortable about and love that we have so many different types of options. So we're building a traditional sort of virtual organizing program. And then we have this voter protection, get out the vote program that is very, very exciting as well, because we do have these great opportunities for people to sort of move forward and vote in the way that works best for them. So I'll stop there and I will just open it up to anyone who, Kurt, you tell me what you want to do. I'm here to answer questions. And tell my wife, tell me it's time to eat dinner.
Yeah, so definitely. Let's move into the question and answer portion. So anybody have a question, please unmute yourself, and afterward, please mute. Okay, go ahead.
Hey, Chris, can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
Hey, this is Paul Ruiz. I'm just wondering, and just to make sure, that robust voter protection initiative that you're talking about, is
Yep.
that what we've seen posted to Mobilize from DPVA? That they have a whole structured program of allowing people to volunteer outside polling stations and go through this like 3-step course to volunteer for voter protection. I just want to make sure that we're talking about the same thing.
That is a portion of it. Yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
So I'm Nancy Fatemi.
Hi, Nan.
How are you? I'm an at-large delegate for Joe. I was. So I was on a Zoom call this morning with the National Women for Biden operation in terms of all the Facebook groups we have all over the country, which has gotten a pretty powerful group of women, a good way to coordinate the women's activities. And they were saying that a lot of them don't really have a connection to the coordinated campaign in their states.
Yep.
So fortunately, Carol and Paul and I, having been involved early, we know who the organizers are. But in a lot of the states and also in many other of our Facebook groups and other social media, the people who are the admins who kind of run it, they don't really get the message as to when you're having the weekend of action. So that's the only thing I might point out, that there's an opportunity there, and how those people get on the distribution lists of the organizers would be something to look at.
That's a really good flag, and I appreciate that.
I have a question.
Yes.
Colleen Henderson from California.
Colleen.
Is this group just for Virginia people? Am I in the wrong place?
Oh, let me answer that. Okay, so we set up the National Capital Region, okay, and that was from field organizer from the Mid-Atlantic region and then the Northeast region. So we were pulling together and trying to build regional area, okay?
Oh, okay.
And then so
I
we
am
was
in
going to
the wrong-
replicate the program, but unfortunately we're moving so fast that we could not replicate. So National Capital Region is the only one we have up running. So we invited
Oh.
everybody to join. So don't feel left out, okay? So you have another question? I know there was a lot of people in California was looking for California's state director. Chris, you know anybody about in?
I will find the
state?
California State Director and send you their info, Kurt.
Okay, great, wonderful, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
Next question.
Colleen, where are you from in California?
Ukiah, Mendocino County.
Oh, great.
Do you know
Well,
it?
welcome. We're glad you
Thank
joined
you.
us.
A lot of smoke out here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody else has a question for Chris? As like, opportunity to
Yeah,
ask
when,
anything.
When will mail-in ballots arrive in our mailboxes?
It should be on the 18th and 19th.
Oh, okay. Because if we would decide to go vote in person on the 19th, if we requested a mail-in ballot, is that allowed, or do you take the mail-in ballot with you?
You take the mail-in ballot with you. Don't open it.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay.
Yep, you got it.
So Chris, I have a question because I was on a call, and I think it was with you and maybe Adam, where we were told, don't open your ballot, but no, it wasn't with Adam. But then I was on a call with Adam, and I think Natalie was on that call, and Rachel Rifkin and some other people from Fairfax, and they said, no, doesn't matter if you open the ballot, you can just bring it in and they'll invalidate it. And I said, well, I know I was on a Zoom call. I've been on so many, I can't keep track of all of them, where we were told don't open the ballot. So what is the proper guidance, and can we get everyone on the same page?
Do not open the ballot. If you requested a mail-in ballot and you want to take it in person, leave it closed. Take
Okay.
it to the registrar. Just fill it out there. Like, I just wouldn't risk it.
Okay.
So it is best, leave it closed. take it to the registrar's office or city hall or wherever you deliver those ballots. Just fill it out there, turn it in.
Great, thank you.
You're very welcome.
I have another question. Wait a minute.
Yes, ma'am.
Wait.
You're on
muted,
mute, Nancy.
Nancy, you're unmute.
You're on mute.
Oh, okay. So I was wondering if the messaging that's going out in the phone calls includes how people can check the status of their application. Someone told me that there is a way to check the status of your application for a mail-in ballot. And I was wondering.
There is.
Can you tell us?
Yeah,
Tell us
yeah.
what that-
That's what I'm on here about. That's my thing too. I got the mail-in ballot application about 2.5, 3 weeks ago. Filled it out very easily. It takes less than a minute. Go 1 page, postage pay stamp. There's a tracking form that comes with it. So I said, great, here was the tracking form. So I send it out. I fill out the ballot and I send it. About a week and a half ago, I went to track it and I didn't find it. So that's where I'm kind of at right now. That there is a tracking form, and I'm in Virginia. So that's just like, hey, what's going on with USPS? What they've been talking about.
So here's what I would say here, because you are supposed to be able to track it that way. Let me talk to my voter protection director, and she talks to the Department of Elections and the state board every day, and I'll get an answer back to Kurt, and Kurt can get it out to the larger group.
Great,
I have
thank
a
you.
question.
So
I
I
have a
think
question. Yes.
if you register
Hello?
online, you can track it. So
Yes,
there's
yeah.
a way to register mail-in ballot online, and with that same online system, you can go back in and you can check status. It will tell you if it's been
Right.
received, been approved, blah blah blah, and things like that. So okay.
Can
And
I,
that's on the state board site, correct?
Mhm.
may I ask a question, please? This is Teresa Hayes.
Yes.
I wasn't aware of this either about not to complete the mail-in ballot. So we don't open it, we take to the elections office, because I'm from.
My fault.
Huh?
I'm sorry to cut you off, Teresa. Let me clarify here. If you plan to mail your ballot back in,
Mhm.
open it, fill it out, put it back in the envelope, put it back in the mail.
Okay,
If you want to vote in person, but you requested a mail-in ballot, if you want to go do early vote in person instead of mailing it, don't open it. Take that with you to the registrar's office or the early vote site.
Mhm.
Ask them what you need to do to turn that one in, and then you can vote in person. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I can go to the elections office. I'm from Illinois, so I can go to the elections office and take it with me and then fill it out and give it to them?
I don't know if that's the law in Illinois, but that is the law in Virginia.
Wow. I wish
And,
I wish the news outlets would let people know this.
You
You
ain't
know,
don't.
And sorry, this is Matt Gliding. So I looked at how you could return your mail-in ballot, and in Alexandria, Virginia, you can either mail it to your register or you can drop it off at the register. So you don't have to go in Alexandria to vote in person early. You can also request an absentee ballot and then bring your absentee ballot to them rather than mailing it. And apparently you can do the same in all jurisdictions in Virginia.
That is correct.
So you can complete and fill out your mail-in ballot at home, so you don't spend additional time at the registrar's office in Virginia, and then you take your completed mail-in ballot and you can take it to the register, or you can mail it back.
That is all correct. Everything he said is accurate.
Oh, no, you can fill it out and walk it down.
Anybody else have a question for Chris?
I have a question about how we're going about registering voters, because I'm very concerned that the new voter registration is low, particularly living here, Chris, in Arlington, where we have a lot of new voters every year. We're a transient area.
Yep.
And I'm not really hearing anything about it either from the campaign or the Arlington Dems. So can you give us some pointers on what we can do to help with that effort?
So we're doing two things, and then I'll give you a point that makes me worry less about voter registration.
Okay.
The first thing is we are setting up like this digital voter registration tool that should be live by the end of the week, and pushing it out pretty aggressively on Facebook, and some other places to touch voters. So you can, and it takes you straight to the state board site, and it helps you through that process on the state board site. The second part of this, which is the part that makes me feel comfortable not worrying quite as much. So when we looked at the trajectory of voter registration in the Commonwealth over the past 3 years, since the end of the 2016 election, the sort of arc that voter registration was on was very similar to the 2008 numbers. And in some places we were above the 2008 numbers in comparison, which if you could see the graph that I'm talking about, you would see that it was significantly higher than both 2012 and 2016. Like, I mean, there's like a pretty significant gap between those two. So basically in the past 3 years in Virginia, at least, we've registered enough voters that even with the COVID downturn in voter registration of 2020, we will still end pretty close to or slightly above what we did for the 2016 cycle. Long way to say a bunch of folks who normally register in presidential years registered in other years this time.
This is Barbara Sweet out of Fairfax, Virginia, and I've just been volunteering over the last week, thoroughly enjoying it. And it's been very educational for me speaking to the voters in both parties. I do have a question. I'd like some more information about this voter protection initiative, or the other phrase I heard was voter protection program. This is the first I hear about this.
Got you. I'll get Kurt. It will be a part of an email. Kurt, you got a lot of stuff coming to you, my friend, to get out to everyone. So I'll make sure I get it over. I'll get that information over to Kurt, and he can get it out to everyone in the group.
Okay. So are you on the Slack channel?
I do not have any Slack.
I was asking to the person that was asking the question.
Gotcha.
I missed
Not that I know of, but I've been getting, emails and texts from a lot of people. I'm still trying to sort out.
Okay, so if you can go into chat and just send me your email, and make sure I invite you to the National Capital Region Slack channel. Okay, so then that way you can communicate and be part of the group.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right, any other question? Anybody else's? I noticed that Matthias on here as well. Matthias is one of our field organizers that help us start the National Capital Region. Matthias, I know you now in North Carolina, and hooray for North Carolina. Got one of the best field organizer that we have, and Matthias is a regional director down there. Matthias, you have something to add about North Carolina versus Virginia? Anything that you can add to us?
Not really a whole lot to add, but first off, thank you, Kurt, for inviting me and keeping me on your email list. So good to see so many familiar faces again: Carol, Kurt, Paul, Natalie, Nancy. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Matthias. I was one of the field organizers for the Biden campaign from mid-March until pretty much at the end of June, when we went into general election mode. And since I had the day off from work today, I decided why not hop on the call here, say hi to my Virginia friends. And even though it's my day off, I still have 18 work-related tabs open on my computer. So there's never really a full day off on the campaign. And I think your good state director, Chris, knows that very well. He and I can probably relate on that front. So just wanted to stop in and say hi and see that Virginia is still in good hands, and very clearly it is. So thank you for the invite, Kurt.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Matthias. So does North Carolina also have a state Biden directors in North Carolina?
We do have a North Carolina state director, Ms. L.T. McCrimmon. She's been around in politics for quite some time, most recently working for Governor Cooper's office, and now she's working with the Biden team to elect Democrats up and down the ticket.
Great, wonderful.
We know how to do.
All right, anybody else have any question either for Chris or Matthias?
I have a question, Mike Morgan. This may be way off topic. If so, we'll deal with that. So a friend of mine in Georgia during the primaries, he took it upon himself. He found places that had really long lines for voting, and he dropped off cases of water, right, to kind of help support the people that were out there. And I was just wondering if that or anything like that is in the works to get organized, either Virginia or nationwide, right? Because I think stuff like that, whether it's snacks or whatever, could make a big difference so people don't just leave.
That will happen in every state. The answer is yes, that will happen in every single state.
Awesome.
Well, okay.
Anybody else have any other question you want to ask and bring it up now?
Hi, this is, can you hear me? This is Lee from Alexandria. Hey, Chris.
Yes, sir.
Is the number of polling sites, is the number of actual voting sites going down for November 3rd, or is it the same?
We don't know the answer yet.
I mean, we know Fairfax has been overwhelmed with the number of officials, with election officials, and I'm going to be one for this November. So what are you hearing as far as people signing up to be election officials in Virginia? How is that looking?
I think the last conversation I had about this was on Friday, and we were very comfortable with where they were. And that
you think it's going to be the same number of polling sites for November 3rd?
It's honestly hard to answer because they don't have to make that decision for another, I think, week, 10 days. And I think some folks are I think a lot of folks are making budget decisions right now, honestly. So figuring out whether they invest more in election day or whether they invest in early vote or folks to count mail-in ballots. I think a lot of budget decisions will be made in the next 10 days. So it's honestly difficult to answer that question.
Thank you.
No problem.
All right, anybody else have another question? If not, I would like to invite Nancy. Nancy was going to share with us some of her thought in doing the national convention. I know she's one of the national delegate that went to the convention, although it's virtual. It's a lot different than in person. But Nancy, you want to come up and add and share with us about your experience?
Sure. And also, I would urge Carol and Paul and any of the other delegates who are on to please contribute. You two know as much or not more about the whole process. So I think it'll take three of us, but we may not want to spend a whole lot of time on this since it's more or less in the past and we want to look toward the future. But I think that those of us who were delegates were initially very excited about the idea of going to Minneapolis. We were elected for the most part, Carol and Paul, and then some of us were elected at the state level with some input from the Biden campaign. So that's how it came to be. And then we were throughout, this would have been in, I guess it's May or early June. So then we would meet and we would talk about the platform process and what to expect in Minneapolis if we were going to do that. There were different things that led up to then the convention itself, and we ultimately found out that we would not be going to Minneapolis. But it was a great experience getting to know everybody. And it turned out that even though we were disappointed in not being able to go. It turned out to be a very beautiful convention, very rewarding. We had already voted the week before the convention, so it was fun to see the roll call and be a part of it. Also, it was the most open convention because you could participate in the caucuses and the meetings by being on the Zoom calls and being in webinars. So in terms of opening up a convention to the public at large, it was really a breakthrough. And maybe, I don't know if we're going to be going back to the old way or not, which is a little bit sad, but also it's probably good in many ways. So we were all safe by staying in our own homes instead of going out drinking afterward and the other things that go on at conventions. So I wonder if maybe Carol and Paul want to contribute a little bit to the delegate experience. Maybe, the three of us were very active together, starting in December, January, February, before the primary campaign. So it's not like it just happened. We had all been working very hard. So that's how you get to be a delegate if you're considering it in the future. So Carol, Paul, you want to add a little?
I'll let Paul go first.
I would just say, echoing Nancy, I agree. It was a rewarding experience. It was really, really neat to participate in that level of putting together the platform, just sort of seeing the inner workings of the party. We missed out on, I think, some of the how the sausage really gets made, right? Like the discussions and things that happen on the floor that unfortunately we weren't able to be a part of. But it also, I think, had a lot of history associated with this. I mean, how often are there political conventions during global pandemics? And I thank my lucky stars. I'm part of a political party that takes this seriously. It takes the health of delegates seriously, and is and does what it can, and it bodes for what we're going to have under a Biden administration, which is people first. And unfortunately, we don't get that with our current president. But in general, I would just say it was a thrill to be able to nominate Joe Biden, somebody I feel very passionately and worked very hard for as our candidate for president. And I'm excited to work hard over the next couple of months. So I think Nancy hit all the right points.
Great. Thanks so much, Paul. Carol, you want to add some to that? Or?
Yeah, I just have a few more things to add to that. So one of the things that happens at convention is every day you get together with your state, or if you're DC, with your DC delegation, and they invite speakers in. So one of the things that was really great in the virtual convention that wouldn't happen in a normal convention is we got to see a lot of speakers every day, and they were on Zoom calls with us. So I don't know about anybody else, but I really got a thrill when Amy Klobuchar said, "Hey, Carol Lieber, I like your shirt." It was really cool. And she was telling us how she was barefoot because she was at home. And, so you really had a different level of conversation than you would normally have at convention. Because at convention, you have all of the delegates who are there and have credentials. And if it's local, like Philadelphia was close by, so you had a lot of people from Virginia drive up. And then everybody's kind of waiting in line if they don't have credentials to, I'm sorry for my phone. It's a really loud ring. Waiting to try to get into the breakfast. And you may get in or you may not get in. So you don't necessarily get to see the speakers or hear the speakers. And so here, and you only have 2 or 3 speakers at most because people can't get from one location to the other. So we had these breakfast meetings where we were seeing 5, 6, 7 people speaking. So I really enjoyed that. That made it a lot of fun. And we were able to have conversations on the Zoom calls. I also want to mention that because it was virtual, normally when you're at convention, you have to choose, do I want to go to the Women's Caucus or do I want to go to the Veterans and Military Family Caucus or the Hispanic Caucus, because caucuses are meeting at the same time. And here you could just jump on and you could literally be in two places at the same time. But what's even better about that is everything was recorded. So you can actually go now to the Dem Convention website and you can go to all those caucuses. A lot of people don't even know that those are open to the public. So you can go and you can look at the schedule. You can say, I want to see what happened at the Black Caucus meeting. They had great speakers, had performers. And so some of them I went back and looked at because it's really kind of hard to be in two places at the same time. So I'd have two screens up at the same time, made for a really long day. So it was a lot better to go back and look at it. And then also all of the evening tapings are on YouTube. A lot of people don't know that either. So if you missed something, I really encourage you to go back and look at them, because especially if you were on network TV, for example, when it cut off right at 11, you missed Jennifer Hudson. And oh my gosh, if you did not see Jennifer Hudson, if you don't spend 2 minutes doing anything else, but going and finding that, I think she was Tuesday night, or I think she was Tuesday night. To me, that was the highlight. Did anybody see Jennifer Hudson? Did you all see her in the convention? Oh my God. Chills up and down my spine. Oh my, that woman can sing, but that performance was unbelievable. And my sister was watching in Boston on network TV. She never saw it. So you can go back and look, check it out. So yeah, so those are some of the things that made it a little bit different, a little bit special in these virtual times. But yeah, we're disappointed we didn't get to go. And when you go to convention, you go to parties and you're meeting movie stars and entertainers. So I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to tell you I didn't miss that. But at the same time, my mom's 95 years old. So I'm glad that I can go home and visit her whenever the governor of Massachusetts decides that people from Virginia can go and visit. And, you know, and I know that I'm safe and protected, and I can keep my mom safe and protected. And I'm going to be alive to vote in this election, God willing, but it's not going to be from COVID. So, yes, it was a different experience, but it was fun.
Great, wonderful. So there's a lot of experience that was shared, and I know some of you been want to ask any particular question to some of these national delegate about the experience or the way to get to the national convention. Anybody have any question? Feel free to just unmute and ask your question to anybody. Okay. Anyone?
Oh, I actually have something else I want to say because it's been in the news, by the way. Sure. There have been some comments about the platform vote where it looks like about maybe 25% of the delegates voted against the platform. And the main issue there was the Medicare for All. It was disappointing to me as someone who'd been Biden early to know that we did something really historic this year. We had a unity campaign. Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders worked together on this. They both appointed people who had been their supporters to work on this platform. They both agreed on everything that went in there. There was a lot of coordination, a lot of collaboration. So it was disappointing that some of the delegates decided that that wasn't the direction they were going to go in. But just wanted to point out that Bernie did have probably about a third of the delegates by my count. Kurt, you probably know the numbers better than me. I know you've been tracking them for months. And so 25% of the people voted against the platform for Medicare for All. So if you think of how contentious things were in 2016 between the Hillary supporters and the Bernie supporters, to me, I think it actually shows that there was a lot more unity. So don't let that statistic mislead you into thinking that there was a lot of dissension at the convention. There wasn't. There were just some people who were disappointed that something they really believed in wasn't in the platform. People were respectful. They called the delegates to express their views, and then people voted according to how they felt on the platform.
Well, thanks so much, Carol. That was good insight, because like I know the press been kind of like coming out with a lot of negative press about the unity of the party and things like that, and so that's good to hear. Now, what about the news of Kamala Harris? I mean, how did that did it excite the whole convention and get things kind of moving any way that you guys feel in particular, Nancy, Paul, or Carol?
Well, I mean, Kamala was my hope for VP candidate from the start. I just thought that she kind of covered everything we wanted to achieve in the vice presidential slot. So I was very happy about it. I don't know that there was anything particularly different among the delegates as opposed to the general public. So because we all span the range of people that we would support. So I don't know, Carol, you have any thoughts on that?
There was so much anticipation in who it was going to be. I know I felt a big sense of relief that we finally had someone named, and there were so many wonderful qualified women, which was great. But no, I really felt that people were very, very excited about it. I think she did a phenomenal job. Her speech was awesome. She has an incredible story. It's a real story of hope. As an immigrant, I love that she wasn't an immigrant, but her parents were immigrant. It's really the American dream story. You know, people come to America to make a better life for themselves or for their children. And here she is growing up in Oakland. She talked about the challenges she had growing up, and hopefully she's going to be vice president of the United States. It's a story of hope and positivity. I didn't watch 1 second of the RNC. I said I wasn't going to, and I kept my vow. But from what I've read and what I've seen on TV, that was not a convention of hope and the future. It was really negative. So I really appreciated this election. I thought it was a great decision, and I'm very excited about it.
Yep, great. So I know, like with the national convention, that's when the nominee actually get nominated and accepted, and once we get both party with on the ticket, there's a lot to look forward to, and I know there's a big debate coming up. And Paul, I know you've been there with us watching those debate when it was the primary. Now it's going to be a debate between Joe Biden and and so Paul, what do you think about these debates coming up?
Kurt, you can't even say it.
I'm so sorry.
You can't even say his name.
It out,
No, it's okay. I don't like to say his name either when I can avoid it. It's going to be interesting. I hope that, who knows whether things are going to change, but we'll probably be still organizing in like this virtual environment, right? I'm feeling pretty good though. We saw Donald Trump sort of lurking behind Hillary in 2016 in like that really freaking creepy way. And then his really, really audible, like snoring like into the microphone. I just don't think, at least now we know what to be prepared for. And, I'm really especially looking forward to that Mike Pence and Kamala Harris debate. I think that she is the right combo for him. I think that's going to be one for the ages. So I'm pretty excited.
And I followed your work as a federal prosecutor.
Great. So I know there's a lot of ad going out right now, negative attack, and a lot of stuff been starting bombarded the social media and around in the media. So it's gonna be a tough battle. And that's what we trying to counter with is like, how do we defend Joe? Okay. How do we defend Kamala? We got to make sure that all these lies just doesn't get thrown out there. And just like 4 years ago, okay, and to the point where it just gets so dirty in the election. So that's why we're looking for everybody to help join in. If you see anything that's bad, something that's saying negative about Joe, that's totally wrong, please feel free to, go on to social media, post, your comment to that and try to respond, because that's how we lost it 4 years ago. Okay, it got so negative. The poll looked really good 4 years ago, just like now the poll look really good, but we just can't rely on that. Okay, and then that's why we're saying this year is like we vote like our life depend on it, really, right? So that's been wonderful. Anybody else? I know some people just joined, but Anybody have any question for Carol, Nancy, or Paul? Just feel free to unmute and ask a question, okay?
I do want to say one thing about voter protection to answer the question. I know that you're going to get an email and you can send it out, but voter protection is something that we do pretty much every election here in Virginia. And they always solicit attorneys. So if you're an attorney and you're interested in doing voter protection, I just looked at the Democratic Party page for Virginia. I did not see a link there. I thought there was one, and Kurt will probably get it in the email, but that is something that you can also contact your local committee and they'll put you in touch with the right people to do voter protection. And it's especially important in presidential years. But yeah, this is not something new for those of us living here in Virginia. We do that all the time.
Great, wonderful. Thank you so much, Guy. Yes, Mary Shine, you have a question? You raise your hand. Unmute yourself and ask, okay?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, this is a question for Chris Bowling. I joined late, which because of my technical difficulties of finding the link amongst my emails. You guys described a digital tool for voter registration. How would that work with people that are digitally challenged like myself? What can you describe what that is, a digital tool for voter registration?
So I think Chris had to move. I mean, he left early too. He was in on the meeting, but he got other event that he got to attend, so he left early.
Okay.
I don't know, Matthias. I mean, are you still here? Can you kind of answer that question, Matthias? Or?
I am still here, and I can't speak directly to what's going on in Virginia since I'm not on the team here anymore. Just your guest appearance for the day, Kurt.
Yeah, but
Matthias,
like in North Carolina, because so Matthias moved down to North Carolina. He used to be, one of the organizers, but now is it the same down in North Carolina, Matthias? Or?
Yeah, really.
In North Carolina, we do have a online voter registration program where people can fill out their forms online, or alternatively for like Mary mentioned, somebody who may not be all on the up and up with technology. I'd encourage them to take steps if they have an immediate family member in the area to help them out, to print out an application or something along those lines.
Okay.
My best bet.
Are we not? Okay, so I'm sorry that I joined late. Is the Democratic Party absolutely not sending anybody out to go talk to voters at their door?
Well, that's the challenge right now. Okay, canvassing has been like the biggest thing. I mean, right after the convention, we should be canvassing, we should be knocking on the door, but unfortunately, because of the epidemic, we're not doing that. Okay, so that's the biggest problem we have right now. So the next closest thing we do is we're doing virtual canvassing. Okay. So have you heard about the minivan that we're doing with virtual canvassing?
I've worked with minivan. I've done that. I'm even though I'm new to you all right now, I'm involved as a precinct captain. I have worked on campaigns for years, as a volunteer. So my question is, I see in the media, Republicans are out in person. And, whether they're standing on corners or knocking on doors and standing, 6 feet away, talking or hanging door hangers. I'm wondering, how do you register voters if the voter isn't going online to register?
So that's a very good point. Carol, you have
any
suggestions?
We are doing voter registration in Arlington. We're doing it virtually, and I've done it a couple of times now. So we're going to the farmers market every week in Arlington.
Yeah.
Where do you live, Mary? Are you in Arlington?
Alexandria.
Oh, okay. So they're I don't know if they're doing the same thing in Alexandria, and I'm not sure honestly, if we can register people who live in Alexandria, that I don't know, but we have a QR code. So we have sandwich boards with a QR code, and then people can just take a picture, and then it brings them right to the website where they need to register. So it works really well. And then when we've set up a table, we've maintained 6 feet of distance behind the table. We've worn gloves, and we've had absentee ballots there where we can hand them to people with gloves on, with sanitized pens, and they can complete those ballots if they want, or they can just take the envelope and mail it in themselves. So that's what we're doing here in Arlington.
You're actually handing the blank registration forms to potential voters, right?
Correct. And we're at the farmers market. So the form would be the same. I believe the form is the same in Virginia for voter registration. So if you find it in Alexandria, we have a big farmers market on Saturdays at Courthouse. And then we have one in Columbia Pike by the intersection of Columbia Pike and Walter Reed Drive in South Arlington from 9 to 11 on Sundays. And we have booths there where we have those.
Okay.
Great.
That's
a really
very
good question,
doable.
Mary.
Thank you.
Yep. So anybody else have any other question? Please feel free to unmute and ask your question.
Yes, to continue on with this conversation of voter registration, what I hear is you are. It seems like there's a significant percentage of the voter population that would just be at home and not going to the farmers markets or getting out there in these places where it's nice that you have the tables for that segment of the population. But as I've done some phoning and just talking to friends and family, there's a percentage of people who are just apathetic, and they say they're undecided, but you can just tell by their voice that, I think they need, it is in my humble opinion, that perhaps we're missing a segment of the audience, that if there was another way to reach out to get these voters registered, it's in my humble opinion, every single vote counts this year.
Agree. I agree.
Is there anything in existence already that anybody can tell me about to reach that population?
The other thing I heard from General Assembly, although I'm not sure if that goes into effect this year. I thought I heard it did, so don't quote me on it, because they've passed a lot of new rules this year, was that they were automatically registering people to vote when they got their driver's license, whereas before you had to ask to be registered to vote. So now you have to opt out. So unless you say, no, I don't want to be registered to vote, you're automatically registered to vote. So that will help, but I'm also not sure how people are getting driver's license when the DMV is shut down. So, and I know there's been conversation, and again, I'm not sure the status of it, where people would be able to register to vote at the polls, as they can in other states. I was in Iowa, people could register to vote at the polls. In New Hampshire, people could register to vote when they got to the polls. Makes a whole heck of a lot of sense to me. I don't know why you'd have to have a residency requirement if you come there and show that you're a resident. But so I hear that that's changing in Virginia too, but I'm frankly not that up on it to give you any kind of definitive advice. I would suggest contacting your local delegate to the General Assembly. They can give you the best information on all of the different changes that they made in this session.
Great. So with that, we're growing up to 8 p.m. So Carol is gonna try to do a closeout. So for everybody, so go ahead, Carol. We can close. I know a lot of people have other meetings to attend to and event that have to take on to at 8 o'clock. So
Yeah.
Go ahead, Carol.
I've got an 8 o'clock meeting myself. So, so thanks very much, everybody, for joining us tonight. I really enjoyed the participation, and I want to apologize for my horrible new phone that I don't know how to mute. That keeps ringing every time I'm speaking, so I apologize for that. But thank you all for your commitment to our ticket and for doing all that you can do and for taking your time to come spend some time with us tonight to help get Trump out of office. Thank you.
There you go. Thank you everybody for joining us today. And if you're not on the National Capital Region Slack, the Joe Biden headquarters Slack, we will send out an invite after this. So please come join us, and we can work together to make sure that Joe gonna get elected in November. Okay. All right. Thank you everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, Nancy. Thanks, Carol. Thanks, Paul. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Matthias. Nice seeing you again, Matthias.
Bye, Matthias. Great to see you.